Hey guys,
Hey, how's it going?
good. How are you?
I'm good. It's been like snowing and raining, and then the sun's out, and then it was like hailing. So it's like a weird day.
Spring.
Yeah.
I actually forget, Hannah. You're up in somewhere in Canada, right? Okay.
In Toronto.
Okay.
It's a mixed bag every day with everything.
Gotcha. Isn't that one of the milder Canadian cities though?
It is, but like for example, I have friends that uh used to live in Calgary and it gets way colder there, but it's a drier cold. So they
Hmm.
say it doesn't actually feel as cold, but the winters in Toronto are a lot more like wet and damp, so it just feels a lot worse.
Gotcha. Well.
I would say that Vancouver is actually the mild of the cities.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Vancouver is very mild. Yeah.
It's very comparable to Portland, actually.
All right. You want to get going? I guess. Let's see. Um, I think Jeremiah, you're doing starting us off with demos.
Yes. And then do we want to start with Hannah and Emilio?
Sure, sure. We can do that. Okay. All right. So I will be doing the app demonstration today. And then Hannah will do the code walkthrough. So just let me share my screen. Okay. So Hannah and I did issue 13 this week, where we created a feature to indicate urgency to the user based on how soon they need to purchase it. So we sorted each shopping item into 5 possible groups in ascending order based on how urgently the user should buy them. So the urgency of each item is sorted by color, as you can see here, and by a short message displayed here in this view. And I'll walk through each type of urgency. So for items that need to be bought soon, 7 days or fewer remain until the next purchase for that type of urgency. And these items are indicated in orange. For items that the user needs to buy kind of soon, between 7 and 30 days remain until the next date that they need to be purchased. And these items are indicated in yellow. And for items that the user does not need so soon, at least 30 days remain until the next purchase date. And these items are indicated in green. We also have an overdue urgency indicator. So an item becomes overdue when the days since the last purchase are greater than the days until the next purchase date, and when the days until the next purchase date are less than 0. So overdue items are displayed at the top of the list. From a user experience perspective, this would make the most sense because the user would want to readily see items that need to be bought as soon as possible, and they are indicated in red. I'll demonstrate what the sorted result is by adding an item. So we go over here to manage list, and we'll add yogurt. We'll give it a kind of soon urgency. That item is added, and that item is added here to the list with a kind of soon urgency indicator. So there you have it. That concludes our app demonstration.
Thanks, Emilio. Okay. Can everyone see that okay? Yes, good. Ooh, okay, the code. I keep getting all the date problems. But I guess it's good because I've been working on it throughout the project. So I'll start off in dates.js. The first thing that we did here was remove the subtract dates function that was originally sort of the determining if the item was checked or not. And I remember Danielle, you had mentioned something about like a function like this earlier on, but it like wasn't making sense until this issue. And I was like, oh, I see. Okay, so we need this because this is going to be used throughout the rest of the code to get the difference between two dates. So this is going to subtract the two and then just give us a whole number of days. So that was the first change that we made here in the dates file. And then this was used in this function that we created, compare purchase urgency. This takes an array as its parameter, and it's going to sort the items in the array based off of a few different things. So we have a few different variables here. Date A and B hold the average number of days between the next purchase date and today's date. Item A and item B hold the item name. And the days since last purchase A and B hold the average number of days between today's date and the date last purchased. So those are all the variables that we created just so that we could easily use them in the sorting here. And this is just in each of these using the get difference between dates to get that difference. So the first thing that we're sorting the list items by is if it's inactive or not, so greater than or equal to 60 days since the date last purchased. That's going to be the first thing. The second thing is that if the dates are not equal, if the difference is not equal, we're going to be sorting by the number of days between the next purchase date and today's date. And then lastly, if the dates are equal, we're sorting them by the Unicode character of the item name. So that's just going to sort them alphabetically. So that's the sorting function. I'll move now to the list item where we've changed a few things and implemented a few things. I actually have to remove this because we're not using it anymore. So the first thing was using the get difference between dates just to update the previous estimate and the days since last purchased. We then also created a new variable days till next purchase as well, using the get difference between dates. This down here, the is checked function is a replacement for subtract dates. So that subtract dates was returning true or false to give us the value of checked. I just changed this to is checked. I think Aloe, you had done something similar with one of your branches when you were playing around with things. So that made sense to me to just implement that here. So now this is going to return true or false and be the new value of checked here. And the other thing is we created two functions which were initially in this file, but that I moved into this helpers file here, which just take a string, this color picker function, and it'll determine what color the text should be. And then this function will take those two differences between dates and calculate the urgency text. So that's going to be implemented here as urgency and text color. We've implemented that into each item. Emilio was showing you that in his app demo. And then the last thing would be in our list file. Instead of just mapping through the filtered data, we're now taking the sorted items, which is the value of return purchase urgency, which is the sorted list. And then we're just displaying that to the user right here, sorry. Yeah, and that is our code walkthrough.
Cool. Um, any challenges that you think are worth mentioning, or um any insights for like things that clicked while you were working on it? I know it was like one of the bigger one tickets we've had.
Um, I mean, for me personally, and this was the same as last week, and like Aloe helped me so much last week. Like things with like math and numbers, I get confused really easily. So some of the sorting order things, and then just using all like getting the difference between dates and all the different variable names, like what's this again, and just trying to keep sort of track and pace with what everything is and like where it comes into play. Um, was a bit challenging and confusing, but Amelia and I were able to just like riff off of each other. And if one of us was kind of getting lost, everyone would be like, "Oh no, do this." Um, yeah, I mean, it was a confusing issue, but I think just spending enough time on it, it just kind of clicked and made sense. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you have to be like deep in the weeds for things to start to click sometimes. And then even now looking at it again, I'm kind of like, oh, I haven't looked at this in a while, and I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Um, but yeah, it was challenging, but we definitely um, got it to work, I guess.
Hmm. Yeah, and I like that there are like a few different ways that you could have approached it, and breaking it up into the two different parts where you just sort it by a few criteria on one side and then you break it into the categories in another um is a nice way to like make the thinking not as big of a task all in one go. You get to kind of think about it in two smaller chunks instead. So and then Aloe, are you able to
Yeah, I actually have a couple of comments on their chunk of code slash questions because I was working on doing the uncheck feature, and while I was doing that, I noticed some things that were just like coming up for me, and I wanted to talk about those also. So the is checked function is returning true or false, but we no longer have like a 24-hour thing where it's like checking to see if it was in like it has like a difference between the days to see if it was like in that last day. But I was noticing that it wasn't actually like uh when I was implementing the like uncheck, it wasn't doing the 24-hour thing. And so I can show, at some point I can show later that I changed the this isn't in main right now, but in my branch, I changed the is checked from being a function to being the variable that kind of holds state in a way. And then my other, so that's just my comment, I guess. And then my other question is the Firebase function that y'all created. It's not actually doing anything in the Fire store, if I'm correct, or Firebase. And so is that the best place that we should have that function? Or can it kind of go in our like utils? Because to my knowledge, I don't believe it's actually like changing anything in the database. And so that was just as far as like what I should know about the right place.
Yeah, it's a good question because I was also thinking that because I guess we're not really using it at all in Firebase, but the acceptance criteria did say to put it there, so that's why I put it there. But I don't know if we can move it, maybe.
Cool. I guess I didn't read the acceptance criteria well enough to see that. So
yeah,
that
I
makes
do.
sense.
Yeah, I do remember it says to put it there, but you're right, it's not explicitly working with anything. I mean, it's just like a utility function, so um
I guess I could just move it to utils because oh no, I made a helpers.js. I could move it there. It might make more sense since we're not using it in Firebase. So if everyone's okay with that, then I can just move it.
sure.
Yeah, cool. And then oh my last one though is the subtract function that y'all took away. I actually brought it back when I did the uncheck feature because it was helping with just when I was comparing the two of the like get difference between dates and that one. the subtract one was how I was able to take the is checked from being a function and make it into a variable. Basically, the logic in is checked that we were using is what we were using in that subtract. And so I brought it back in a way. Yeah, and then also in the dates, currently you have in the get difference between dates, you have like the 24 times 50 times 50 times 1,000. And that's on it. That's the variable that's at the top for 1 day in milliseconds. That's the same thing. So I also updated that to just be the variable instead of have that number because it's just more consistent. But again, that's in my unchecked branch. So yeah. I can go over my demo now. There will be airport sounds in the background, so I apologize.
San Jose, California. Now the new gate of departure is Bravo 22, and passengers going to San Jose, California. Departure gate is Bravo 22.
Okay. Okay, so for mine and Steffi's feature, we were to add a delete button for items so that we could delete them from our list. So we have a delete button. We have our item. If I wanted to delete something, it will pop up a message that asks me if I'm sure if I want to delete that item. If I click cancel, it leaves it on the list just like it should. If I go back and I'm like, actually, I want to delete it, it will delete from our page. When you refresh, it is still deleted. If I was to go here into the database, I got shorts, sweater, got hat, I got pants, no socks. So it deletes it, it's done. So that is my app demonstration. Let me pull up the code. Okay. Sweet. So here we have our like handle delete function within the list item. So basically down here we have a button. When we click that button, it's going to run this function. And so basically it is going to pop up that confirm window. And then saying like, if you confirm this, then, run the delete function. If you don't confirm it, so if you're clicking cancel, it's just going to return to the back to that. Firebase. So we've got our delete items. We just want to make sure that we have the list path for it and the item ID, so that we're getting the item that we're trying to delete. So we're calling the collection that has that list path and then the items within that collection. And then from these items, we're checking for that item ID, and that's how we are deleting it. It's a pretty easy task in comparison. So yeah, that was it.
Very cool. Yeah, that one is also pretty similar to like some of the other like fill out this function ones that you've done already. So it's just like finding the Firebase, thing it from the library and then using that. So
Yeah,
nice
it
work.
took like 20 minutes.
Nice.
It was very fast, which is why I
Mhm.
spent so much time on the uncheck feature this week. Because I was like, I have so much time.
It's good to use that extra time for something productive. Did anything any insights, anything interesting or just pretty standard?
I haven't used the window confirm yet, and I didn't read the doc thoroughly, so I kind of just like plugged it in and then didn't do the if else statement. And so I clicked cancel and it deleted it, and I was like, oh, so let me change that. So that was kind of a trial and error on my end, but also because I wasn't being thorough and reading the docs. So that was the only like hiccup I would say. otherwise, I don't mean, it's not even that much of a hiccup, it's just my
Yeah.
fault. But
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, the window or browser has like a lot of built-in stuff that you don't use all the time, so learning about those is helpful. Okay, and then am I passing it to you, Danielle? Or Nick? Do we want to do issues or the retro first?
Either's fine with me. Yeah, issue shouldn't be too long. You want me to go first, Nick, or did you want to do the?
Maybe we should do issues first, since just to make sure Aloe doesn't miss any of that.
Yeah, that was why I was asking. This week is slightly different, so cool. Yeah, I won't take too much of your time, hopefully. Trying to pick the correct desktop here. Okay, cool. So this week is going to be week 14, which is the very last week, the very last issue. And before we get into it, I do want to give you the disclaimer that this is your last assigned issue. So it's a pretty big thing. And you have the rest of the time in the program to complete this. So I probably would recommend maybe this week work a little more on the planning side of it. And then you have weeks 8, 9, and 10 to do all this. So essentially the long and short of it is sprucing up the app. So yeah, it says the last 2 weeks, but this is a lie. But yeah, essentially it's just doing the design, the styling. Also, if you see anything that you would like to do extra to the app that was not included, you can also roll that in. So this has like a really nice, kind of nice overview of recommended steps that you can take. You don't have to go this way if your team decides on doing something different and it works. That is definitely cool. But yeah, they're definitely recommending, kind of think about what tone you'd like the app to have. Like if you want it to be more businessy or if you want it to be more fun and silly. They recommend creating a mood board. Again, like you don't have to do this, but this could be a good suggestion if that's the way that your brain works. Decide on things, like what typography you want, if you want to add pictures, colors, things like that. And then the other important choice is if you want to write the CSS from scratch or use a framework of some sort. And then further down here, they have some recommendations. I think this is my very biased take, just because I've worked at many kind of more early stage venture capital startups, but a lot of places seem to use Tailwind that I've noticed, but totally up to what you all want to use. So yeah, this week's going to be slightly different. So if you want to all meet up synchronously, I know one thing that my last group did was they decided to kind of separately go out and wireframe what they were thinking. Then they came together and talked about it, and they kind of stole the best ideas from each person. I thought that was kind of an interesting approach, but definitely how you all want to do it. And if you need any recommendations or guidance or anything like that, the three of us mentors are here to give our opinions and input. And yeah, again, you have 3 weeks to do this, so don't worry about rushing. And next week, we will be doing a demo of whatever you built. So if it's not completely finished, even better to give you some practice with like demoing stuff that's not fully complete. And like, I visualize this as, it'll look like this eventually, but for now it looks like that type of situation. So demos next week don't have to be super polished, but we will have you demo something. So keep that in mind, even if it's just looking through your, different app ideas and wire sketches. That's perfectly cool too. Doesn't have to be code. Trying to think if there's anything else. Do you think I'm missing anything, Jeremiah or Nick?
I mean, the only thing that I would bring up maybe is a lot of frameworks have I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's like a Figma setup where you're using either their styles or components to build things out. So uh like my favorite of these is Chalker UI, and I know that they have like a Figma setup that's specifically for all of their like components that you can, drag onto whatever size thing you're working on. I know there's some for Tailwind as well. So um, if you use a library, then that's like a good starting point. And then once you get kind of like the layout, then you can work on like, color palette and things like that.
Yeah, I think this is sort of in there, and you actually might have mentioned this, Danielle, but a good way to get organized with this is to break things up into, smaller issues. So it's up to you all of how you want to do it. But you can have like, style the list items as an issue, or style the manage list page as an issue, or if you're making modifications, getting rid of the manage list page. So use Git. There's a lot of good organizational stuff in GitHub that's really helpful for planning out a larger project like this.
Oh, and also final thing, I did mention this last week, but I'll mention it again. This week we'll change how we do PR reviews. I think we all agreed that you just need one person to review a PR that's not you, and then you can merge it. So if you want it to be the mentor reviewer for the week, that's cool. If you just want it to be whoever's first available, that works as well. So hopefully this can help make things a little quicker and more real worldy, I think. So cool. Any questions before we move on to retro?
Not a question, but a comment. Hannah and I were talking, and Hannah said that their partner would be open to helping us like design our app. So I'm mostly saying this for Amelia to also hear this and be on that. And then I have started, I kind of created a framework on some sticky notes of some design choices that I was gonna draw up and kind of maybe share to the Slack channel. And as with that, I also had some like features, and I have some features that I've been working on as well. So those are just some notes of mine.
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
definitely use Slack to collab. Sorry, Hannah.
Oh no, that's okay. I was just gonna say now, like looking at the issue, if everyone's open to having her create the design, we can maybe just plan all of that stuff in advance and then just be like, do something with this, and then she can put it into Figma, and then we can like tweak it from there if we wanted. But also like if no one's worked with Figma before, it's good practice to like follow designs from there and do stuff with it. So yeah, we can just like chat about that more later.
Cool. Yeah, I hope you all get to have some fun with it. The week we all have been waiting for. So awesome. Nick, you want to start the retro?
Yeah, so let me share this link in the chat. I'm hoping I gave you all access correctly. Let me know if that is not showing up for anyone, or if you're not able to add anything. Is everyone able to load that? Okay. So we'll just do, I think we normally do like 10 minutes. and I'll kind of keep track of time, and then I'll share my screen after we can go through them. Okay, I think that we're kind of slowing down. I can go ahead and share my screen and we can go through these. Oh, okay. Sorry, it's like, I feel like Zoom has gotten so confusing when you share the screen. Okay. Everyone see this okay? Okay, can start in the appreciation columns. Danielle.
Yeah, I was just noticing during the demos, the app's coming together, starting to look like a real app. Definitely some, stuff to improve, like a lot of you mentioned, but app's looking really good.
Great. Oh, and this one's me. I want to give a special shout out to Aloe for dialing in today from the airport. Not easy or comfortable, I assume, but thank you for joining anyway. And now actually kick it to you.
Yeah, so thanks to Hannah and Steffi, just on my unchecked feature that I've been working on. I feel like it's like scary to kind of have your own feature, but at least for the first time, and to like put it out there and to get feedback. But I felt like it's been really thorough and helpful.
Great. Jeremiah.
I just appreciate Danielle for keeping the mentors organized.
Hannah.
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge Aloe for working on that extra feature and putting so much time and thought into it.
Emilio.
I think you might be, I can't hear you, Emilio.
Yeah, I think you might have been muted.
Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I'm off my headphones. I don't know what was going on there. Sorry. Hannah did a good job on the code walkthrough for a complex issue, and kudos to Aloe for presenting from the airport.
All right. Hannah.
Emilio took the lead on the PR and put a lot of detail in there, so it was easy for everyone to understand. So I really appreciate that and for helping me with that issue because it was challenging.
Aloe.
I really love that it doesn't feel like one of us is doing more work and one of us is doing less work. I feel like this is really loud right now. I really appreciate that it feels like we're all kind of like putting in what we can in a way that feels like super equitable.
All right. Back to Danielle.
Yeah, I was gonna say, good job to Hannah for dealing with those two challenging date tickets. You were the unlucky one this cohort.
Hannah.
Yeah, Emilio, the demos, they're fire, so just want to acknowledge you for that. It's like something to like strive for,
Aloe.
Yeah, I both of my next ones. Well, I'm gonna do them in opposite order, but I really appreciate that Emilio is so clear and concise. I just feel like you hit all the points so well. So what looks like effortlessly, I know it's not effortlessly. Yeah, and then my other one is like Hannah. Every time we get a ticket, I see that you just get a challenging one, and then I'm over here with my delete feature, being like, "I'm sorry." Good job.
All right, back to Hannah.
Oh yeah, just a shout out to Jeremiah, Nick, and Danielle. You guys are so kind and helpful, and I really appreciate your time, and I'm sure everyone else in the group feels the same way.
Well, thank you. And Aloe.
I also really appreciate that Hannah was asynchronously kind of like working on an unchecked feature as well. And I really loved being able to kind of like take the two of them and like, you know, take the best of the both of them and create this wonderful feature that I'm really excited about.
Nice. Okay. Oh, we're back to you again, Aloe.
Back to me, communication as always. I feel like anytime there's a thing that needs to be changed or reviewed or whatever, I just feel like there's not like if there's pushback, it's like for good reason. It's not just like people being, you know, buttheads. So it's been nice.
Okay, and then Danielle, you have a couple here.
Oh yeah, just wanted to acknowledge, I believe it's Aloe and Hannah. Sorry if I missed anyone, but yeah, just good job for self-organizing around the self-check feature. I know from my end as a mentor, I didn't have to do anything, and it just kind of got done or mostly done. And I think that was great because that's what we're striving for here. And what else did I have? Oh yeah, everyone's just really open to feedback from each other, from mentors. And I think that is a very important skill or personality trait to have. Just kind of always be curious, always be learning, always be open to feedback. You might not always agree, but be open to hearing it. And I think everyone here is really good with that.
Yeah, this one's mine. I always notice that everyone on this project, the code has been just very concise and you know not overly verbose, and it's very easy to read. So that's a very valuable thing. So I'm glad you're all getting practice doing good code like that. So got a couple from Jeremiah.
Yeah, I dragged them all close together. Everything seems like it's gone really well so far on the project, other than like the one, I don't know if how do you even call it a bug, but the checkbox not working exactly the way we want it to. So that's really cool to see. Things don't always go that smoothly. And then kind of an appreciation, also just like something that's going really well is how early the tickets get done. So that way, if there is anything that needs to be, looked at more, there's a ton of time to do that. And then kind of echoing Danielle earlier, but like the being open to feedback and asking questions is always like very respectful, which is also nice to see and appreciated.
All right, Hannah.
Yeah, just reiterating every time we do a retro that the communication is really, really good amongst everyone. And especially this week, I felt like the organization was good with like the new feature and implementing changes.
Okay, and Emilio.
All right, testing. Can everyone hear me okay? All right.
Good.
So both PRs were done early, and both pairs communicated with each other often. I think we've been doing a good job with that every week, just getting it done early. So that's been awesome.
All right, so improvements. Danielle.
Yeah, behind the scenes, there's a really big curriculum change for this cohort of folks. So there's definitely been like some bumps, just in particular, like some very minor inconsistencies, slightly incorrect things that used to be correct and aren't anymore in the project brief. I've been doing my best to report that to the interested parties. I think other folks and mentors are as well, but just wanted to bring that up in a could be better.
Yeah, this is for myself, whenever I have this task, I feel like I don't really send upcoming details. It's not really upcoming if it's in 5 minutes. So try and get that earlier. Hannah.
Yeah, just kind of repeating what Danielle is saying. Aloe and I had that issue with our previous issue, and then with like the Firebase thing this week. So yeah, just those like little inconsistencies but I get that there was like a huge change, so it's easy to miss things.
Okay, and Jeremiah.
Oh, ticket 14, the styling ticket, I think could have some more information about the libraries, I guess. Like most of them have playgrounds where you can mess around with the components and that kind of thing, or the having the Figma kits linked, I think could be helpful for like making that decision. And then it talking about like rolling your own is really cool, but that can be time consuming. So like maybe some more pros and cons about that. And then like the accessibility challenges, because a lot of libraries are built with accessibility in mind already. So
All right. Things we learned. Aloe.
It's just always nice to get more practice with resolving merge conflicts. And I found that I had to do that when I was doing the like uncheck feature. Yeah, so it was nice to do that. And then also like for me working on a feature that was like also being worked on and kind of like putting all of those things together and then like, okay, well, everything just got pushed in there, so now I have to do that and like rewriting things and refactoring. It was just like, it was very, nice.
All right, and Emilio.
Yeah, so kind of on a related note, I don't think I've ever resolved like maybe like once before like a merge conflict. So this was really a good opportunity to do it here. I posted a YouTube video that kind of helped me just because I was just very deliberate because I didn't want to like screw something up. And it turned out fine.
Great. Hannah.
Yeah, I'd never sorted by multiple things before, so that was really good practice and something new that I learned. And then more practice with dates because they're just the worst thing to work with. So better to like get it out here. And I've built projects with working with dates before in maybe like a more complex manner. And I now looking at how we did things here versus how I did them in that project, did a way better job of working with them here versus before. So I've definitely, learned some stuff.
I have one more thing I would like to add to the things that I learned. I kind of deep dived when I was doing computers. So like I deep dived on looking at how to delete lists, and I found out that editing lists, like the names of the list, is actually very, very, very difficult. And I found that you can delete a list, but you can also delete a list and then not delete all of the items on that list. So then if you create a list with the same names that you deleted, it will have all of those items. You don't also have functionality to delete those items at the same time. So I was learning a lot about the Firebase. It was cool, but also like, wow.
Nice. All right. I think, what am I passing it off to? We did issues. Yeah, anything else, Danielle, that we have for this call?
Yeah, I think that's mostly it. I have a timed Slack message that's going to send to our channel to remind you, but Jeremiah will be doing office hours. I am the mentor code reviewer, only if you need it. This is kind of a special few weeks, so if you don't need me, that's fine. If you do, I'm here for you. But yeah, I think that was all that I had, unless anyone else has anything else to add before we end. Awesome. Yeah. Hope you all have a great week. And as always, let us know if you run into any bumps or need any help. Have a good one.
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
well,